If you're considering moving to Cape Coral, Florida, and you want to learn about the top 10 mistakes I see people making before they move down here, stick around because we're talking about all that and more right now. Hey everyone, welcome back and thanks for tuning in. If this is our first time meeting, my name is Marc Ammons and I'm a real estate agent down here in Southwest Florida. And on this channel, I talk all about what it's like to live, work, eat, sleep, and play right here on the Gulf Coast of Florida. If that sounds like something that you're into, go ahead and click subscribe down below so you don't miss any new videos when they get released. And if you are thinking of either buying or selling real estate down here in Southwest Florida and you want some help navigating our housing market, go ahead and reach out to me whichever way is best for you. Feel free to call, text, or email. You can also scan the QR code right here in the corner, and that'll give you links to all the best ways to get in touch with me so we can start looking for your new home down here in Southwest Florida. With that out of the way, let's get into today's video. Okay, so mistake number one that I see people making all of the time is paying way too much attention to the opinions of other people who've never actually lived here. And if you're at the point in your relocation process where you started to tell other people about your plans and your goals and that you're considering moving down here to Florida, you have no doubt been inundated with copious amounts of unsolicited advice and opinions from those people, and most of that advice should probably be ignored. And honestly, this is a mistake that people make no matter where they're moving to, but for some reason, everyone seems to have a lot of very strong opinions about moving to Florida, even if they've never lived here, and frankly, even if they've never visited here. And it's actually kind of funny, I think, because it's usually pretty predictable what people are going to tell you, and they're usually the same old talking points that I'm pretty sure most of which were invented and spread by people who actually live here in Florida with the intention of discouraging other people from moving here, but it doesn't seem to stop people from giving their opinion to you anyway. And if you've told people where you live now that you're thinking about moving down here to Florida, you've probably heard something along the lines of this.
Oh, Florida, huh? Oh, do you have family down there? No? Oh, well, I guess if you don't get eaten by a family of ravenous alligators and a swarm of eagle-sized mosquitoes while dodging snowbirds in the horrible traffic as you're being chased by Florida man while your skin melts off from the blistering heat in the middle of a Category 5 hurricane, you'll probably have fun.
And as funny as that sounds to hear, because basically none of it's true, it's a pretty accurate description of a lot of the opinions that people will give you about your decision to move down here to Florida. Now, I'm not saying that you should completely ignore all the advice that other people give you, but I am saying you should put it in the proper perspective, particularly if the person giving you that opinion or that advice hasn't actually done the thing that you're wanting to do. And even if that person has done the thing you're wanting to do, it's still likely that your experience is going to be different from theirs because we all have different situations, different means, different goals, and different interests. And that goes for me as well. You know, I love sharing my journey down here in Southwest Florida with you guys, and I try to be as fair and balanced as I possibly can be by both showing the positives and the negatives of living here. But I absolutely love living here, so my opinion is going to be biased as well, and it's likely that your experience is going to be different from mine. So just keep all that in mind as others share their opinions with you, listen to what they have to say, thank them for their opinion, and make up your own mind about what's right for you and your family as you explore your options. All right, so mistake number two that I see people making when moving down here to Cape Coral is related to our first mistake, and that is spending too much time on the various Cape Coral resident Facebook groups. Now, while these groups should in theory be an excellent resource for people who are considering moving here, because many of the people in these groups do actually live here in Cape Coral and should have some really useful information to share, I've found that over time, these groups have gradually become a place where a small handful of people go to just vent and share every negative experience that they have around town and in their own personal lives. And from both my perspective and the perspective of most of the people that I know and meet around town, it paints an extremely unrealistic picture about what life is like here, and will likely give you a very tainted view of the city and the kind of people who live here if you put too much faith in what you read on there. Now, I'm not saying there isn't some good information that can be gained from these groups, but recently the overwhelming majority of content in these groups is not likely to add much value to your life. And I think the most useful tool in these groups is the ability to search for specific keywords that you're interested in. So if you're looking for a recommendation on things like restaurants or lawn care services or a handyman or something like that, just type that into the search bar and you can go directly to what you're trying to find, because there is some valuable information hidden in there. But generally, I would try to limit the amount of time you spend in these groups, as I just don't see them as that great of a resource for most people. All right, so the next mistake I see people making is not taking the time to do an exploratory trip down here to Cape Coral earlier on in the process to get familiarized with the city and the different areas there are to live in. And And while it's not always possible to do, it's a great idea to try to get down here for at least 2 or 3 days, just drive around, check out the city, make sure it's the place that you want to live in, get more familiar with the different parts of the city to see if there's an area that you either particularly favor or an area that you can definitely rule out. And this is going to make it much easier to focus and narrow down your home search criteria as you move forward in the process and get ready to start making an offer on a home. And as of right now, which is in April of 2022, the average days on market for homes in Cape Coral is only 5 days. So it's likely that if you're from out of town, you may need to make an offer on a home sight unseen if you want a chance to be competitive. And while we can do a lot remotely over video to show you the house and make sure it's the right home for you, it's much more difficult to give you a full picture of all the surrounding areas near the home to make sure that's also the right fit for you. So generally, it's better to have already been down here to scope out the various areas in the city, and that way you'll have a more clear vision in your head of where you do or maybe do not want to live when making the move down here to Cape Coral. Okay, so mistake number 4 that I see people making is not being willing to make compromises on what they're looking for in their new home. Now, in an ideal world, we would all be able to get every single feature and amenity that we wanted to have in our new home and still stay within our planned budget. But unfortunately, that usually isn't the case, and we tend to have to make some compromises by either adjusting our wish list or adjusting our budget. Now, you know your own personal situation better than anyone else, so you're really the only one that can make these decisions, but there are some things that you can do to make them easier. The first thing I would recommend doing is making 3 lists. On the first list, you want to put your must-haves. These are the non-negotiable things that a home must have at a minimum for it to work for you. This could be something like number of bedrooms, bathrooms, garage bays, water access, etc. Next, you want to have your list of nice-to-haves. These are the things that would be great to have included in your home, but also things that you could either live without or you could add later. This could be something like an extra guest bedroom or bathroom that you really aren't going to use very often, but would be nice to have if possible. Could be a pool, granite countertops, a boat lift, something like that. And the last list you want to make are the things that you absolutely don't want in a house. These are the things that would be a deal breaker for you if they're present. This could be the age of the home, it could be the part of the city that it's located in. And once you have these 3 lists, then we can set our initial search criteria for all the must-haves, rule out the deal breakers, and then we just look for the homes that have as many of the nice-to-have items as you can get for the budget that you've set. Now, if we take your list of must-have items and do a search within your desired budget range and we come back with no results, then we have to either adjust our budget range until we can get in the right ballpark, or we have to adjust the items on your must-have list to be a little bit more realistic with the current market conditions. Now, once you have these 3 lists complete and you want to start seeing what's on the market that matches your criteria, go ahead and reach out to me so we can have a conversation about your goals, and then I can get you set up with a search portal in our local MLS system down here in Cape Coral so you have access to the most accurate and up-to-date information about listings that match what you're looking for in a new home here in Cape Coral. Alright, so mistake number 5 that I see people making is somewhat related to our last mistake, and that is thinking that they need a lot more square footage in their new home than they actually do. And I find this to be the case very frequently because you'll find as a general rule that homes that are built down here in Florida tend to be smaller than other homes that are built other places in the country. Now, I've also found that our floor plans tend to be more efficient in the use of their space, and that homes that on paper may be significantly smaller than a comparable home in another part of the country, the actual usable space and functionality of the smaller home here in Florida may even be better than a larger home somewhere else. So if you're coming from a 2,700 to 3,500 square foot home now, you may need to be looking at homes that are 2,000 to 2,400 square foot down here. And one of the big reasons for this is the amount of outdoor living space that many of our homes have down here. And the majority of homes in Cape Coral have some type of outdoor living space that can range from a few hundred square feet up to 1,000 square feet or more. And while this square footage doesn't get calculated into the conditioned square footage of the home, it does add a significant amount to the overall living space that you have at your home. And if you're anything like my family, you'll likely find that you spend significantly more time outside of your home than you do inside, in part because the beautiful weather we have here makes it possible to enjoy that space pretty much every day of the year. So if you're currently looking for homes that are the same square footage as what you have now, and you're surprised at either the lack of homes available in that size or you're surprised at the price tag that those homes carry, you may want to reevaluate just how much space you actually need and how you plan to actually use that space once you do move down here. Alright, so mistake number 6 that I see people making when moving down here to Cape Coral is not understanding the difference between living on a saltwater canal and a freshwater canal. So big picture, a saltwater canal, also known as a Gulf access canal, will eventually lead out to the Gulf of Mexico, whereas a freshwater canal is never going to lead out to open water. You'll generally find that homes on saltwater canals are going to command a higher premium when it comes to price. And it's also important to note that all the saltwater canals within the city have a 5 mile an hour speed limit. And the freshwater canals don't have any speed limit. And this is important to know for a few reasons. So number one, if you're on a saltwater canal, it's a pretty good distance away from open water. It may take a decent amount of time to navigate out of the canals and out to open water since you are limited on how fast you can go. It's also important to notice if you're on a freshwater canal so that you're not surprised if you see boats or jet skis going through the canals at a pretty fast speed right behind your home. Also, you'll find generally that the water level in your canal will stay much more consistent if you're on a saltwater canal as opposed to a freshwater canal, which can have much greater fluctuations in water levels. And one of the last big differences of the two types of canals is the type of fish and wildlife species that you're going to find in each. So if you're looking to see dolphins and manatees and stingrays and those types of animals from behind your home, then you're going to want to be on a saltwater canal. So if you are looking for a waterfront home, do your research and decide which type of canal may be best for you, and you may find that you'll be perfectly happy on either, depending on what it is you're looking for. Alright, so the next mistake I see people make when they're moving down here to Cape Coral in Southwest Florida is putting way too much emphasis on flood insurance. Depending on where you live now, it's likely that you don't have flood insurance on your current home, but depending on where you decide to live here in Cape Coral and what flood zone that home happens to be located in, you may be required to keep flood insurance on that home, especially if you have a mortgage on that home. Now, I see a lot of people get nervous about buying a home that's required to have flood insurance, but honestly, it's just a part of everyday life and the cost of doing business down here in Florida. And while yes, it is possible that we could have some flooding here in Cape Coral at some point, historically, it's just something that's really been a non-issue here, and the flood insurance is there to protect you in the event that it ever did happen. The same way that your car insurance and your homeowner's insurance protects you in the case that an unlikely event happens, the same is true for your flood insurance. So when you hear the word flood insurance, don't panic. It's a part of everyday life for most people down here. It's not something to get yourself worked up over. Alright, so mistake number 8 that I see people making when moving down here to Cape Coral is not having a realistic understanding of the process and timelines that go into building a new construction home. And I've seen a number of people who are looking to buy a lot and then work with a local contractor to build their new home, but expect to be able to get all that completed in 6 to 9 to 12 months. And the reality right now, particularly with the lingering supply and labor shortages left over from the pandemic, is that if you want to build a new construction home from the ground up on a lot that you're going to be purchasing, especially if it's a waterfront home, you're probably looking more at 18 to 24 months as a realistic timeline for that project. Now, while these lead times could improve in the future, because of the backlog of homes that the builders down here still have to build in their pipeline, it's going to take a while for things to settle back down. So if you are looking for a new construction home, but you don't want to wait that 18 to 24 months to have a custom one built, you're likely going to want to look at new construction spec homes that some of the builders are still building. And spec home just stands for speculation, so it means the builders are building the homes without already having a buyer for them. And while these new homes will carry a bit of a premium over your typical resale home, there's a lot of advantages to buying new, so that could be something worth considering, but just be aware of the current situation and timelines that are involved before you get too far along in the process. Okay, so mistake number 9 that I see people making when moving down here to Cape Coral is not working with a local lender down here in Southwest Florida. And I know how tempting it can be to use the same lender in your local area who's done one or multiple mortgages for you in the past, but unless that lender also has a very recent history of doing loans down here in Southwest Florida, you really need to find a different lender to ensure that everything goes smoothly in your new home purchase. I particularly caution people who are looking at some of the online discount lenders out there to please reconsider and get in contact with a local lender here in our area who's familiar with all the steps that are required to successfully close a home on time here in Cape Coral. And I've been in the same situation myself personally before I moved down here, where I had a highly curated list of the absolute best lenders in my local area that my clients and I had used for years. But when the time came to move down here to Cape Coral, I knew I needed a lender down here in Florida who was familiar with all the steps required to make the process as smooth and stress-free as possible, even though I had a very strong relationship with all these other lenders. And I can tell you it was definitely the right decision. So if you are just getting started in your process of looking for a new home and you're planning on financing that home, one of the very first steps that you're going to want to take is getting connected with a lender down here who can determine how much house you can afford and then get you pre-qualified. So if you would like some recommendations on local lenders down here in Cape Coral, you can go ahead and reach out to me and I can get you connected with some of the top lenders down here so you can get started looking for your new house down here in Cape Coral. Alright, so we've reached the end of our list. Thanks for sticking with me, and we're now at mistake number 10 that I see people making when moving down here to Cape Coral, and that is just not doing enough research on the area before coming down. And if you're watching this video right now, you're obviously the type of person who does their research, and I commend you for that, and I thank you for your support on this channel. And there's some other really good channels out there on the area as well that I would encourage you to check out. get multiple perspectives on a wider range of topics and information. The more research you do on the area before moving down and even before visiting for the first time, the better. You'll have a better idea of what there is to do, where things are located, and where you may or may not want to live within the city to be able to live the particular type of lifestyle that you're looking for. And if you are looking for more information about some of the local areas and things there are to do for fun in and around Cape Coral, you can also check out my other channel, The Cape Coral Life, where I take you guys all over the area with me and my family as we check out all the fun things there are to do down here. And I keep these two channels separate for a reason, as I try to really just focus on the real estate side of things on this channel, whereas my other channel, there's a little bit more variety, and it's more about things to do once you're actually down here. So I hope that may be an additional resource for you as you're doing your research on what life is actually like down here in Southwest Florida. And so that's going to wrap it up for us for today. So again, thanks for sticking with me. I hope the list of common mistakes that I see people make has been helpful to you and will hopefully save you some time, money, or frustration if you do decide to make the move down here to Southwest Florida. If you did get value out of this video, it'd mean a lot to me if you would hit the like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the new videos when they get released. And again, if you are interested in seeing some more videos about some of the travels and adventures that my family and I do across the state of Florida, and particularly down here in Southwest Florida, check out my other channel, The Cape Coral Life. I'll link to that at the end of the video as well as down in the description box below. And again, if you are looking to either buy or sell real estate down here in Southwest Florida and you'd like some help navigating our housing market, please reach out to me. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to be a part of your journey, so feel free to call, text, or email. You can also scan the QR code here in the corner for all the links with ways to get in touch with me. I truly appreciate you sticking with me through this whole video. And as always, thanks for tuning in, be well, and I'll see you on the next one.